everybody. My name is Pastor David, and I've been attending Knoll Avenue Church of the Nazarene for about a little over 2 years now. Ashton and I had just gotten married and found Knoll to be our home. Shortly after that, really felt the call to youth ministry, and there had been a possibility that there was going to be sort of an opening, and at that time, Steve and I really worked on seeing what that might look like for me. I knew I wanted to be in ministry in some capacity. And so that's where we really got to get a feel of youth ministry. And shortly after that, received the call, went full in, and got to know the staff on a more deeper, personable level. That's really where I got to know Nick. And he introduced me to a word and table service that I wasn't really familiar with. He asked if I wanted to participate in this word and table service. Usually that would be held on a Saturday evening. And I said, okay, well, why not? Let's see what this is like. And so originally it was, hey, just come. It's just a small little service of maybe about 10 of us. The service is more of like a higher church liturgical style of service, something that was pretty different and very foreign to what I grew up with, and really what I'm just used to all around, and I'm sure a lot of you can say the same. But, I was like, sure, why not? I think this will be good for me, and I think I just found myself loving Saturday night services for what it is, and really being open to the higher elements, the higher liturgical aspects of what this service was, and doing the collect prayers, and really that intimate setting where we join and we worship as a small congregation. I think as I got in the swing of it, I began to notice that there was meat here. There was like sustenance to what we were doing every Saturday night. It's just the rehabituation of the rituals and the routines of the service feels real. It like I feel the presence of God, and I know the Spirit is at work, and it's just authentic in the way in which we do it and how it comes together. I begin to understand that worship isn't merely something that I want it to be, that worship isn't something that's over-sensualized or something that's just simply an experience that I want to engage in or I want to participate in, but rather worship is something that God calls us to. God made us to worship, and this place really showed me how to worship. It showed me what worship was, and it really showed me what genuine worship looked like. A lot of times in our culture, in our popular evangelical tradition, I'm seeing that worship is really looking more and more artificial. Seeing all of these secular liturgies and how worship is almost being tainted in a way where it's not genuine. You kind of go into these bigger, larger church services, and it's all about the experience. It's all about the preaching, and it's all about the singing and all of these different things. And then you kind of leave, and then your high kind of goes away. And so again, I felt like Saturday nights were shaping me and was really forming me to have a different view of worship, to have a different view of God, and to really have a different view of myself in how that worship was forming me as a person. Did I love Saturday nights at first? No. To be completely honest, I did not really like Saturday nights a whole lot. It felt kind of boring, felt dull, it felt very Catholic. And a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. It just felt Catholic with all of these rituals and stuff of that nature. But the more and more that I got involved, the more I was involved week after week, I really felt like, man, this is for me. Like, I no longer not want it, but I now need it. And so, man, really, if we can really just shape our understanding and knowing that worship isn't about me, but worship is about God, and worship is for God, it will really change our mindset in our pilgrimage, in our walk, in us being disciples of Christ. And so if we can really just steer away from these fake ideologies of what worship ought to be or what we want worship to be, I think worship is something that we habituate ourselves in time after time, day after day, not simply just a Sunday or on a Wednesday, but to simply fall on your knees, to be at the feet of Jesus, to come with your worship, to come with your all. At first, it might be boring. At first, it might suck. But if you are obedient and you open yourself up, really what I found is that through the habituation, God is changing me. It really speaks to the importance of what we do, why we do it, why routine is important. Because the more and more that we do it, the more aware we become. The more and more we do it, the more it is ingrained into the fibers of our being. The more and more it's a part of our character, it's a part of our person. And ultimately, we are becoming a certain kind of person with how we worship. In knowing that because worship isn't about me, it's about God, and it's for God. God is shaping us through every single little thing we do. And so that's really what drew me and is continuing to draw me to Saturday night. I want on a regular basis, to recite these written prayers that have been said thousands of years ago, to memorize them. There's something beautiful about that. And in reciting these these, I've noticed subconsciously that they are how I perceive the world. These prayers are how I've seen people, or even just how I even pray myself. Where we are going in our tradition, in evangelicalism, we need to maybe return back to the roots in knowing that what we do has been passed down generation from generation. Every time we gather, we are practicing, as Steve says, to be citizens of the kingdom. We are practicing for eternity. We are practicing now for eternity. There's a professor philosopher, James Smith. He gives this example of how he started exercising. He started running. He would put his tennis shoes on, he'd throw on his earbuds, and he would start running 3 miles. And he did this every single day, and every single time he got back home, his wife asked, "Hey, did you enjoy it?" "Well, what do you mean, did I enjoy it?" "No, I didn't enjoy it." And so there was one day she asked again, "Did you enjoy it?" And he said, "I did." And he took a minute, he paused, and he said, "I enjoyed that." So Saturday night was that for me. At first, wasn't always fun. Didn't want to do it. It's a Saturday night. Who wants to take an hour away to worship on a Saturday night when you could just stay at home, you can, hang out with friends, you can be with your wife? And so my mindset shifted where it's like, man, I don't really want to go. This is just another thing to do. And I will say from time to time, I kind of feel that way. But now I am beginning to see how the formative work of the Spirit is changing how I perceive worship, is changing how I perceive that this is good for me, and this is making me into a certain kind of person. And I like it. It's good.